All right, here we are. This is Dawn Reby, CEO of Excellence in Analytics, and I'm thrilled that Dr. Yves Salomon-Fernández is here with us today. Salomon-Fernández is here with us today to talk about leadership and her experience. She has an incredible background with leadership in education, among other things, certainly in her family and in other arenas, global experience, and just this really great heart about her. And which is why she's here today. So welcome, Yves. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
I am delighted to be here with you, Dawn. It's a pleasure to be here and to be with your audience also.
Yeah. So Yves and I know each other when she was Yves Salomon. So I forget. I'm like, wait, Hernandez Salomon. Yeah, it's back. I got it. So we've actually known each other for years and years and years. But before we get into that, let's give a little bit of your incredible background so folks know the magnitude of what's happening today. Does that work for you?
Thank you. Yes, I can definitely do that. So I'm originally from Haiti. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 12 and we settled in the Boston area. I now live in Greenfield, which is 2 hours outside of Boston, but settled in the Boston area, went to Boston Latin School, and then eventually went off to college at UMass Boston, stayed local until I had an opportunity to study at Oxford and decided, wow, how amazing is that? I got accepted into a program, got a full scholarship to do it. So I went off to Oxford University in England and fell in love with England and decided that I wanted to go back and do my master's at the London School of Economics. So a couple of years after that program, I went back to London and the world was just very different. When I graduated after 9/11 and came back home, and that's how you and I met. But in between, I also had the opportunity to work abroad a little bit, work as an observer for the United Nations during the historic elections of 2000 in Mexico. Also got a chance to live in Mexico. I did my undergraduate thesis in Mexico. So I love traveling. I've been to about 25 countries and have had an opportunity to live with different families from all over. But, you know, the Boston area, Massachusetts is home. And yeah, and right now we're at the border of New Hampshire and Vermont. For folks who are not familiar with Greenfield, that's where we are. The closest city to us is actually Brattleboro, Vermont. But it's wonderful. No matter where you are, you can find a sense of, well, we've been able to create a sense of community for ourselves.
Yeah. So every time I hear you talk about all of this global experience that you have and these different places that you've been and the experiences that you've gathered and given to those places, I'm just blown away because I know how many languages you speak with. Well, maybe I don't. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 4 fluently. So in addition to English, I speak French, I speak Asian Creole, and I also speak Spanish. And I understand spoken and written Italian and Portuguese.
Oh my God. And you're obviously phenomenal English speaker and writer too, because your emails and your languaging are always just impeccable. And I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm positive that in the other languages, you're just as impeccable.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, Dawn.
So you have a great background and now you are a third-time president of a college, Greenfield Community College out in, right along the border.
Yep.
And which is, first of all, that's huge. You've been the president of 3 colleges. Like, how does an immigrant who lives in Boston, who gets on scholarship to go to these schools, decide that she wants to be the president of multiple colleges and such a contributor to the overall leadership environment?
You know, I have to say that I've been very lucky. I've had some incredible mentors along the way. I've worked really hard, but I can't credit all of it to my hard work. Having a network is certainly important. Having people who can lift you up when you're down, having people who can show you the path, even as you're creating your own pathway. Because for me, I was the first in my family to get a PhD from Boston College. My dad did have a master's degree, but I was also the first to go through a doctoral program, a rigorous doctoral program, and really needed support. And I had some great professors, some great folks I met along the way, some great professionals, and even some great teachers in high school who continued to be part of my life and who said, you know, I see you're motivated, you're driven, and let me help you. So I totally believe in the power of mentorship and also the power of sponsorship. Because you have the people who don't have time to mentor you, but certainly will sponsor you, will see that drive, will see that you're someone they want to get behind and will propel you forward. And I've been very lucky in my career to have those people. And part of it has been to have that sense of humility to say, I don't know what I don't know, and I'd like you to help teach me. And so I've had to be proactive. In some instances, I've had people who've come to me and said, you know, I want to help you out. But in other instances, I've really had to be proactive and say, there's something about you that I really like. I like you as a leader. I am impressed by you as a leader. I am humbled by you as a leader. And how can you teach me? So it's been able to say that there are things that I don't know, and I am humble enough to approach someone else who does know, who has more experience, who has more breadth and depth and scope of knowledge and experience, who can support me.
I think that's phenomenal because I think a lot of times we have imposter syndrome to begin with, right? And so it's hard for especially new leaders to ask for the help and to seek out that mentorship. And you're, really sharing a concept that is true to me as well, which is seek out support of people who've been there, done that, so that you can learn from the most amazing leaders and dump the imposter syndrome, dump the I'm not good enough syndrome, and really just focus on where you're going. I love that. I love that. And supporting through time or finances, I think is a great point too, right? So
Yeah.
now you're going to be able to, you might physically have enough time to mentor someone or not. So funding them to have an experience is a great tool as well. Awesome.
I think especially for women, the imposter syndrome is really something that we have to work over and work on. And it's important also for our male allies to open doors for us, to support us through that. And we have a better society. We obtain and achieve better results when you have more diverse perspectives, be it women, be it people of color, be it people who are on the LGBTQ spectrum, whatever it may be, or people who are neurodiverse, etc. You have a better team, and the research shows that you have better results when you do that. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if people are not mentoring, to mentor others, because you never know where they will land, and that sense of satisfaction and gratification when you help someone else achieve that is really important. And I think also, no matter where you are as a leader, whether you're a young nascent, emerging leader, or you are an experienced leader, it's always important to have mentors. And I continue to have mentors, and I continue to learn from people whom I consider the best and brightest in my field, and check in with them every once in a while. And the onus really is on the mentee to say, this is what I need, and this is how you can help me. And also to think through, what can you give back to this mentor who's given so much to you? It's a two-way relationship. Of course, they have the gratification of watching someone they're helping grow and excel. But what can you do to support?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is walking in with this mentality of how can I serve you? I mean, because I'm going to learn just being around you, right? So if you have the mentality of how can I serve you, it doesn't feel like this take kind of thing. Because I'm sure you, as well as other leaders in this industry and other industries, have people asking them, kind of like what I'm doing. I asked her to be here and, and asking so much. And so sometimes it's really important to say, how can I give and what can I give? And it means a lot. So you mentioned something else, that the diversity vision, right? And you knew this way back when we met. So back at the Department of Education in Massachusetts, in Malden, Massachusetts, when we met. How long was that ago? Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, let's not say. Way too long, we'll date ourselves.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
But I remember even back then, I always tell my Eve story. I say, this woman, she knew that multiple perspectives were important even way back then. And so I probably have the story mixed up at this point because I've invented pieces of it that might not be completely true, but but I always tell the story about how Eve is like, hey, Dawn, you want to come to lunch? And I'm like, sure. And I get down to the table and there's all these people from all these divisions, from the janitor to the director to all these, and I'm like, what is this? And Eve is like, these are my friends. Nobody had a title, right?
Exactly. It's so important because you never know where the best insights and the best perspectives are going to come from. And as a leader, it's important to see people for who they are as a person, as opposed to their rank or their role. And to me, that's always been that's all. I've always been attracted to a diverse pool of people and people for who they are. And as a leader, what I've also learned is what we each contribute to the organization, to the college, to the company is unique and is important and is valuable. And we have different lived experiences. So when we walk into a room, we may see some things that no one else in that room has seen, and especially the folks who are frontline folks, when you're at the level of a CEO, you will never get that perspective. So it's important, whether it is in formal settings or informal settings, to make people come together, to bring people together, and to create a level of bonding among everyone, so that as the CEO, people also see that it's important and we can learn from each other. And it also gives people a sense of purpose, a sense of importance, and a sense of being valued in the organization. For me, it's always been natural. As you know, I was also a nobody about the DHE. I mean, at DESE at the time, the Department of Education at the time. But it was just my orientation. And I think coming from a working class family, I feel that affinity towards people who are working class. And at the time I was working up the ranks. And so, I was entering into this new class of people, this new group of people at a different level of the hierarchy. But I remember the days when I worked front desk as a security officer when I was in college. And I remember the people who walked by as if I were invisible. So I remember how that made me feel. And I know that I was a person. I know that I had interest, and so for me, it's natural to just bring folks together, and we build better organizations by doing that. And I can tell you the stories that the janitors tell us here at the college, the perspectives that they see, the problems that they help solve, can only be solved from their unique perspectives, because they see things that the rest of us don't see. And I still have lunch with everyone across the hierarchy.
I love this. I'm going to slow you down for a second, because you just gave like 8 good nuggets that I'm like, right? Because, I can see you being that frontline person, and someone walks by and it's like, she's a nobody, right? And then the real leader looking in and saying, Eve, tell me about you. What do you see? Getting that relationship built. So many leaders we work with, they don't see the connection right away with knowing their people outside of the work environment. They're like, you're here for a job to clean. That's it. You're here for a job to, book the books, and that's it. And so the fact that you're saying, no, we all belong to this bigger mission, and we have to use their eyes at all these different levels to fulfill that bigger mission, regardless of the status. In fact, capitalizing on the different roles, right? And so it's phenomenal. I love it. I love that piece of it. It's really, really insightful.
Yeah, and I'll use the analogy of a ship. Before a ship sinks, it starts taking on water. Someone sees that it's taking on water and is trying to put it out themselves. But if they had a relationship with the CEO or with someone else higher up in the organization, they could say, here's what's happening. And you can divert your resources to that particular problem. But if you don't see anything happening, if you don't see that happening, you will sink very quickly. And the same thing with opportunities. The frontline person is seeing opportunities, is having conversations with folks that you will never get that insight to know what people are thinking, what they're interested in, what kinds of conversations are happening, who's crying crying in the hallway and why, what students are dissatisfied, what customers are complaining, what customers are walking in and walking out without purchasing anything, or who are talking and gossiping among themselves. So it's important to have eyes and ears, and it's also important for people to feel valued, because then they bring more to their work. They give 150% as opposed to if they were just clocking in and clocking out.
Exactly, exactly. So I know you teach leadership as well. We teach leadership in the social sector as well. And so we have a whole section on how to make your people feel connected, how to make it deliberate, intentional, that you know faces, that you know the people behind the badge or whatever it is, right? What tools would you recommend, or what methods, I guess, would you recommend, maybe your top two or so, for people to get to know their staff better?
I would say personalization, engagement, and creating a culture of care where everybody cares for one another, so that the CEO, yes, we have a lot to do, we work all the time, that you don't have to be the only person who is doing that, who is engaging in those things, but it permeates the culture. You create a culture of care, an ethic of care within the company, within the organization, and you also personalize things, and you also engage folks. Are you asking them for their opinions? Are you asking them for their thoughts? And are you using that to make decisions, or do people feel like I filled out the survey and that's it? Are you finding opportunities to engage them around self-care, especially during the pandemic? And are you also tapping into people's aspirations? So I like to use the analogy of can't remember which author coined this, and said they are rock stars and they are superstars. And rock stars are the ones who are solid. They don't need a promotion to doing something else. They find ways of innovating within their jobs, and they do it really well. They're rock stars. They're solid. They're not moving anywhere. They are well grounded into the soil, and they deliver consistently. They innovate because they see things around them and they adapt. And then you have your superstars, the people who are going to come in and make a huge impact and then leave. So how do you capture the energy, the entrepreneurialism, and the spirit of a superstar? And whether they leave that position or they leave your company, how do you keep them excited? How do you feed their curiosity, their interest? So it's knowing your people, knowing their aspirations, knowing what they value, knowing what they care about. That really makes a difference, and that drives outcomes.
I think that there's whoever's going to listen to this has to just pause right now, rewind, reverse. I'm talking in the 80s. See where you bring me, Eve. Go back and just like listen to that 5 times. That is just like golden, right? Knowing your people, and making those intentional efforts to connect, regardless if you're the CEO or you're the chief or whoever, how high, it doesn't matter who you are. In fact, even more so to have that connection and that piece. One of the things we do with our group, we have a team of 7 now, and one of the things that we do with our team, every Tuesday we meet with a smaller portion of our team, and we start off the meeting with leadership of self. So we say, Eve, how did you take good care of yourself this week? Right. And so, yeah. And so, Caroline and Michelle and Jen and Ria, I know you guys are going to be listening to this at some point, but we literally go around the virtual space, because they're all over the country, and say, what did you do? And you learn what's important to them. You learn that, they got a pedicure every Friday with their friend because that's how they bond with their friend. So you learn about their relationships, about their styles, about what's important, what goals they have, and all the thing by that one question. How did you take care of yourself every day? Creating that culture of we care about you. And so, and that's just one thing. I know I have so much to learn from you in terms of how to implement it at a large scale level, because you have way more staff than I do, right? So is it systematic the way that you do it because you have 300 or so, 400 people that you serve?
Yeah, about 440. Yeah, it's really important. Communication matters, and management by walking around. is really important, and taking the time. And sometimes I will buy something, go get some treats or something and bring it to the office, asking people about their family, encouraging people to get a degree, finish a degree, go and invest in themselves and investing in people. I think it's important to get coaches for people, and people you see who are high functioning, who have a lot of potential, to let them know that I see the potential in you. And I think, in terms of what you're saying, being systematic, our evaluation processes should also be places where we identify talent and where we reward talent, and where we also say, I'm going to invest in you in terms of professional development. I want you to reach that next level, because if you are that much better, you can serve our students better, you can serve our community, you can serve our company, you can serve our organization better. So that's really important. I send birthday cards to people, and they can't believe that I take the time to handwrite a birthday card. But I think it's one of those things that really makes a difference, so that people know, you see me, I matter. Asking them about their family members, especially during COVID, if you know someone's going through a hard time. And I send meditation videos. I send books that I'm reading, and share that with people and say, this might interest you. And movies that I read, or things that I did with my family over the weekend, just as you were saying, are really important in ways of allowing the leader to look like a human to most people,
Yeah.
because we tend to put leaders on a pedestal and not realize that they are people just like us. They suffer, they bleed, we suffer, we bleed just like everybody else. And so it makes it a lot easier, a lot more relatable. And also people feel that you're a lot more authentic when you're asking about them. And I also used to make breakfast and lunch for my team and for folks around the college, and people wouldn't believe that I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and make a ton of food, a ton of eggs. I'd make 7 different eggs, and they'd say, oh my goodness, how do you have time to make all of this? But it's really important that people feel like, wow, this is great. Or making food from Haiti, Haitian culture or Puerto Rican culture in my family.
Yeah.
We're a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And, and where I live, we're so homogenous, it's, 92% of the population here where I am is white. And so when I make something that's different, that's ethnic, people really appreciate it.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love the personal touch of all this. I mean, you're a president of a college. You have limited time, but you recognize that you want to spend your time um, really massaging your relationships with your people and ensuring that they know that they're cared about. And that's huge. That's huge. And so if someone's listening to this video, and they have 450 people or 4 people, or, maybe they don't manage anybody, they can still build these relationships and show the intention, by doing, like you said, the birthday cards, or bringing some ethnic opportunities, food, or whatever it might be, cultural things to the table, sharing different ideas, books. I love that piece of it. One thing you did mention is you help fund coaches for your folks. So I wonder, in public sector, the budgets are always small, right? In schools and in police departments and fire, the budgets are always shrinking. I don't know exactly how the budgets are at college. At your college, but do you find, like, how do you encourage this mindset of investing in those kind of coaching programs for yourself, or, that you do for your leaders? How do you do that with limited budgeting?
Well, we can't afford not to, or else you lose the best talent. If you don't coach in people, if you don't invest in people, some people may be stuck, and what they need is a little bit of help to get them, to boost them, get them out of that particular situation that they're in. And other people have great potential, and they can't see that they have great potential. And so getting a coach to help them see, look at all the things that you're doing well, or people who need, I have someone who needs an innovator to help her out, because she's venturing into all of this innovation work for us, and she's doing all this entrepreneurial work. And she said, I really need a mentor. I really need someone who can help me, who's done it, and with whom I can meet on a regular basis. So to me, if you don't invest in your people, they're either going to sink the organization because they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the foundation to do what you need them to do, or they're going to go walk out and go somewhere else where they can be developed and where they can contribute at a higher level as a result of being invested into. So it's an investment into your organization, into your own company by investing in other people.
I love it. I love it. And so let's say you're on the other end of the spectrum, because I feel the same way. You know, I come from a law enforcement background where there's very
Oh,
limited
yeah.
training budgets. Like it is most of the time you pay for yourself, right? So what do you say to those folks who might not have an amazing leader like you, who doesn't have someone who says, hey, you know, coaches bring you to the next level. We're going to help fund that for you. What do you say to them about, you know, if they want
Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. I have to say, earlier on in my career, I spent much of my own funding investing in myself because I realized that's the way I could become the best professional that I can be. That's the way I can develop a network that goes beyond my immediate area. And it's the way that I can also develop different mindsets, you know, a growth mindset, and continue to expand my breadth of knowledge, expand my portfolio, expand my own ability to challenge myself, because now that I know more, then I feel like I can, okay, I have the confidence, I can take a risk now because I feel like I am much more knowledgeable and I'm making an educated guess as opposed to a decision or a risk that I really cannot assess fully. And, you know, and I'll cite this, you know, we know that men only need to meet just a few of the work qualifications, whereas women wait until they meet 90% of the job qualification to go for a job. Whereas, you know, men, once they hit about 40, 50, they're like, yep, I can do this. So I would encourage the women listeners also to take risks, you know, and to also talk to the men in your surrounding whom you really aspire to, whose leadership you find really aspirational, to say, hey, how can you help me? How did that work out? Because a lot of times as women, we tend not to take risks, and especially women of color. You know, whatever messages we are communicating to girls and young women, it's one that they carry on longer into adulthood, and they're not always positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Such great insight, such great points. So, you know, finding an institution that's going to grow you, that's going to support you, because obviously that's going to support the organization. And if that's not currently available to you, find ways to invest in yourself, or to get yourself and to get yourself around the people who can grow you. I remember I hired my first coach years ago, and I was shaking in my boots with the amount of money I was spending. I'm a single mom, right? And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I hadn't even taken vacation in 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because I didn't want to spend the money. I was like tight on a scarcity mindset, right? And I remembered I hired my first coach because I knew that I was in that scarcity mindset, and I couldn't operate a business in scarcity mindset. And so, so I hired my first coach. And I will tell you, Eve, the shift that happens in your world when you hire or partner with somebody to help you think and shift your mindset is absolutely, like, you can't even describe it. It's unbelievable. And I have never not been with a coach since. So, you know, I like to kind of every couple of years shake it up with like a different perspective, or what it might, you know, whatever it might be. And I recently was on, aside from the business coaching and all that stuff, on a nutrition push, you know, so I'm in nutrition school right now, you know, to be a certified health coach, because I just love optimizing body and that kind of thing. But I knew that
I've always been great at that.
yeah, thank you. But I knew that I needed someone to really jumpstart me. So I hired a nutrition coach to jumpstart my own, you know, wellness, even
Yeah,
though
to
I know
accelerate your own learning.
to accelerate the learning. They know how to do it. Cut the fat, get me straight there, and then I'll blossom from there. And so so I love that you talk about this, and I've always known you to be looking for the books, the people, the opportunity to grow yourself as a human, as a leader, and as a connector. And the specific reference to women, and to minority women, but women overall, I think is phenomenal, because you're right. the folks that we work with, I would say a lot of times it is the women that, have this bubble around them that they're just like, no, 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 no. And you're like, yes, 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 yes.
Can do it. You can do it. Yeah, I remember the name of the book. It's called Radical Candor.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that book, Radical Candor. And then the other thing that I was going to say from your own comments, you have this sense of self-awareness. And I think it's really important. It's one of the things, it's a foundational thing that a coach, if you've never had a coach, can really help you understand yourself and develop a better understanding of who you are, what makes you tick, what annoys you, what are you looking for, how do you best learn, and how do you feel fulfilled personally and professionally. So I'm a total proponent of coaches. I think finding the right coach is really important, and finding someone who can help you live to your full potential and be your best self, whether it is in the personal realm or the professional realm, or the integration of the two is really important. And I'm all about mental health too. So take care of yourself. If you need to see a shrink, if you need to talk to someone, if you need a little medicine to get you through, I'm not ashamed to say those are things that I also rely on, because sometimes the work just gets really overwhelming and you need some help managing. And someone who's not your friend, who gets tired, but a professional who gets paid to listen and knows how to guide you is really important.
I think you're right. This work-life integration, we call it this funky thing called balance, and that's not what it is. It's this work-life integration, and really being able to say, can I be amazing, crazy, successful in career, and amazing, crazy, successful in the whole in my home life? And you shared a story with me. Was it? I forget if it was, I forget which child it was. I think it was your daughter that you looked over and you're in your bed with your glass of wine, having dinner and typing away. And you're like, she grew like a foot. What happened here?
Yes, exactly. And I realized that's a very good story. Yeah, I realized that that entire year I missed out on her life, because I come home at the end of the day and it's exactly as you said. I pour my glass of wine, I'm having dinner, I'm eating, the workday continues, and I realized, oh my goodness, as I'm sitting, she is so much taller. What happened? When did this happen? I missed all of that because I come home and it's so late. And so I endeavored to do better. And that's really important. I mean, I've come to the realization, given my job, I'm never going to give 100% to each and be and be superstar at each, both the home life and the professional life. I'm very lucky to have a wonderful husband, a great partner. But at the same time, exactly, Steve is great. I spend more time with my family and spend more time with our son. And it was funny last night. He said, "This is what I like about having parents." And I said, "And what do you not like about having parents?" But they too realize that, and they appreciate the time that we spend together.
Yeah. And I love that you looked up and you changed your behavior, and you had to grind to get you to where you are. Like you have to do the thing. But at some point you take a step back and you say, what is the life that I truly desire? Do I want to wake up 5 more years from now? My daughter is, 4 feet taller, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or time with girlfriends, time with friends, that's really important for us to go back, rejuvenate, and recenter ourselves, and to be with people we love and care about, and people who can make us laugh, and people who can be there for us is really important. So having a personal network, having a leadership network, a leadership advisory board, people who can give you advice on the professional realm and people who can give you advice in the personal realm is really important. As humans, we like to be connected. We function best when we are connected, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. It's something that we need and crave, and that sustains us.
Yeah. And so you have an executive team. Is it a college focused executive team that you collaborate with to teach leadership?
No, well, I have my personal executive team. These are the people I call to. I call when I need help, when I need advice, when I need perspective, when I'm about to take a risk or I've just taken a risk, and they give me really great advice. These are my mentors.
Yeah.
I'm also very lucky that I have a great executive team here at the college, and we're able to make a lot of really good things happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's important, and I have girlfriends, that we go way back, and some of them I don't talk to often, but when we do, like you, it's like we never missed a beat. Like, it was just yesterday.
Mhm.
Um, and we age gracefully, if I may
We
say.
do, we do.
Yes.
And I remember the fall festival when you and the kids came over, when Steve too.
Oh, yes.
I think you came the day before, maybe, because our little fall festival we were prepping for it, and we were just hanging out in the yard and connecting.
That
And
was fun.
right, it does feel like yesterday, but it was years ago, because I don't want to say your kids' names, so because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But your daughter was teeny weeny, your son was teeny weeny, and I was like, oh my God, they're not teeny weeny anymore. It's so
No, they're not. They're so grown. I have this wonderful picture of Zavi, because you are the queen of games. You are the queen of entertainment of all kinds. And I think he had his hands tied and he was eating donuts from a tree. And I don't know if you remember, he had long, beautiful hair, and
yes.
his face is covered white with powdered donut.
And he was cheating because his hands were tied.
Yeah.
The little string came apart, and I grabbed his, and I'm like, put them back together.
It was great, and those are the moments that last us, that stay with us for a lifetime, and they're really, really important. And our kids remember those moments.
That's right. My daughter still is like, we had donuts.
Those were the days when we were less conscious, when we could, eat donuts and be just fine. These days we
Right.
eat donuts and we see it. It's like, oh, okay, this is the donut.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have so much insight, so much value. I'm proud of you, and the growth that you've had in your own life, and the mom and wife that you are, and leader that you are to your people. You're just absolutely phenomenal, and I'm proud to call you my friend, even though we haven't physically seen each other in person and been able to hug for quite some time. I'm so proud of everything that you stand for. Everything that you do, the transformation that you yourself have had is just phenomenal. And our group is lucky to hear from you. So thank you for letting us steal your time today.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. I am just as amazed by who you are and your entrepreneurial spirit, and you as a risk taker, as a mom, and you're just really, really incredible. And I'm very lucky to have you with all of your dimensions and facets in my life. Thank you.